we have officially kicked off our stewardship campaign for 2026. There are so many ways in which you are so dedicated and committed to this church. It is inspiring in so many ways, through the volunteering of your time, to the sharing of your prayers, to the ways in which you build community. It is inspiring, and we could not do church without you. And one of the ways in which we ask you during the stewardship campaign is to ponder and pray and discern how you might be able to support the church financially through your fiscal gifts to the ministry and mission of Park. Part of our mission and ministry budget is 12% of all pledged giving gets dedicated right off the top to mission grants that we extend into the community. And we are going to be hearing how we live into our vision statement to build community of relentless compassion and courageous hope through these mission grants. And to hear a little bit how our mission grants are helping build community of hope and courage through one specific mission partner, I want to invite Tony Ochoa, who is with us from As You Are Youth Collective, to share a little bit about how we partner together to build communities of relentless compassion and courageous hope. Will you please welcome Tony to Park Church this morning?
Hello, everyone. I was scribbling down some extra notes through the beginning part that I found quite relevant to our work, but it was not a review of you so far. So it was just the paper I had on hand. But yes, as Reverend Darrell said, my name is Tony Ochoa, pronouns are he, him, and I work with AYA Youth Collective. So much of our work is very relevant to what has already been said today, but to kind of give you a brief overview of the why. So in Grand Rapids, there are over 200 young people sleeping outside or in emergency shelters. And by young people, I simply mean those 14 to 24 that we've been tracking. And so AYA Youth Collective operates a drop-in center where those young people that are experiencing homelessness or housing instability can access resources in a safe, centralized location. And so our building is located quite near from here. It's like near Trinity Health, but State, Cherry, and Lafayette area. But before I ramble on too quickly, I wanted to emphasize the fact that so much of our work is highly dependent on relentless compassion and courageous hope. It's relationships that are going to be the primary way that we can stay connected with these young people. And when I was on a phone call with Reverend Darrell, I had just recently received some data points that talked about the work that we've done over the past year. And one of it was, whenever we talk to young people, we see about 1,000 young people per year. Whenever we talk to them, we actually track what are the topics that we're talking about. It's so important that we get feedback for young people, understand what they're saying, what concerns they have, and how we might build programs around that. Very similar to the prayer that was created. If you want to create a prayer that resonates with young people, ask young people. And that's what we got out of it. And a lot of times you hear things that we wouldn't have expected, and that's why it's so important to get their feedback. So yeah, I bet if young people are going to remember a psalm, that's probably the one that is going to resonate with them for a while. And the same is true for AYA and our programming. And so what that looks like is that we are tracking conversations we have with young people. And for those that have teenagers or preteens, sometimes it can be really hard to get that interaction. And so we celebrate these conversations. So the example that I have for you is like our housing. So we've had 2,000 conversations with young people about housing. But of those, only about 1,000 of them, or 1,000 instances, actually took step towards housing. And of those, about 250 actually achieved some goals towards housing. And of those, about 50 actually saw their homelessness resolved in long-term stable housing. And so those numbers can be discouraging, but the work is hard and the work is steady. And when you're interacting with folks that are used to living in cycles of chaos, are unsure of the adults in their lives because maybe the adults that were there to walk alongside them or deemed as safe turned out not to be so. And so it can be really hard to kind of gain that traction, gain that trust in order to really walk alongside them, build that trust, and kind of navigate the system through them. And so it really does take a huge amount of relentless compassion and courageous hope. I'll try to paint it with this one story that I like to tell frequently, is that when young people walk into our space, sometimes they're really mad and ticked off, and they explode in this overwhelming sense of anger and frustration, and it's all directed towards AYA staff. And I was asking our drop-in manager about it, and he was explaining that, like, we really can't take it personally as a staff. Yes, it does get hard, because no matter what, if it's your fault or not, like, someone yelling at you constantly does kind of wear on you, but that's really where the relentless compassion comes in. And Corey was telling me about this young person, we'll say his name is Timmy. Timmy came in. We were able to get Timmy housed through a community partnership through other nonprofit. And I'd love to talk more about that, of how we do that. I'll be out there afterwards. But we were able to get Timmy housed. Unfortunately, Timmy made a couple of choices that broke Timmy's current lease agreement, and he was actually evicted or asked to leave that housing program that he was part of. Timmy was very frustrated and very angry, and he took it out on AYA staff, and particularly Corey, because Corey was the one that introduced Timmy to this program. Corey knew some of the past trauma that Timmy was going through, and knew that, like, there was perhaps some other things going around, but he also knew that Timmy was not in a clear state of mind in order to kind of accept some of the hard truths, the hard love that needed to be in this moment for this young person to actually learn from his mistakes and try to move forward again. And so through that, we were able to get, he was able to take a shower at our facility, calm down, get some warm food, and after a while, he was able to sit down with Corey and talk about next steps in order to get Timmy housed and the other additional resources in order for him to stay stably housed. And so it's a long-winded example of, like, why the work is frequently 4 steps forward, 3 steps back, a couple of steps sideways, maybe a step forward again. It can be quite difficult, especially when you're interacting with folks that are used to sleeping outside and are used to society ignoring them and tossing them to the side. And so for them, it can be difficult to put themselves out there and to put themselves back into society, so to speak. And that's where the relentless compassion and courageous hope, that we can see someone of where they are and believe in them and walk alongside them and have the hope that they could eventually reach long-term stability. And so I would love to talk more. I can talk more. And so if I leave anything that's didn't explain something clearly enough, or you want to hear more, please meet with me afterwards. But ultimately, thank you so much for your support. You all gave us a very generous grant, and we can put towards directly into housing. But yeah, come meet with me, and we can talk more about how you can get connected. Thank you.